Another huge patch is here with tons more buffs, nerfs and changes to champions, runes, dragons and more. So let's get into everything that's changing and how it affects the tier list this week. Well, first off, the biggest change this patch is the increase to the attack speed cap, which will be the first time we've had any changes to this for as long as the Rift has existed. This is going to mean hyper carries that thrive on high attack speed like Master Yi, Jinx and Kog'Maw could be a serious problem in the late game. The Domination runes, Electrocute, Dark Harvest and Hail of Blades are all getting buffed this patch too, with Riot attempting to bring assassins back from the dead. Objectives get another hit this week with Voracious Atakan getting more nerfs, Void Grubs getting nerfed too with less structure damage per stack, and Cloud Soul loses 5% of its movement speed from 20 down to 15. Champion bounties are also being changed, which is great news because they've been a bit of a disaster so far this season, with sometimes feeling like you get bigger bounties even if you're already on the winning team. Let's get into the tier list now then, and in the top lane S tier we have Aatrox, Camille, Cho'Gath, Darius, Aurelia, Kayle, Mordekaiser, Poppy, Riven, Urgot and Warwick. This patch we've got buffs to Jax, Nasus and Quinn and nerfs to Jayce and Teemo. So Jax has still been as popular as always at higher ranks, but not having anywhere near as much success for the majority of the player base. This patch his HP per level goes up, his base mana regen goes up too, and his ultimate's passive magic damage on hit is being buffed. All of this with the attack speed cap changes could mean Jax rises back into a seriously scary pick again, to give him a go. Now if you are looking to try out Jax and want to stay up to date with all the strongest builds for him, then click the link below and check out his champion page. Nasus had a spell a while ago where he was super strong and ended up getting nerfed one too many times, so now he's back in the patch notes with a buff to his passive lifesteal. We are going to keep him in the B tier for now, but let's see if this patch plays out well for him. Quinn is the kind of champion you don't really see too much of. She's super niche and mostly played by one-tricks or top lane mains in very specific situations. However, Riot are giving her some extra bonus attack speed on her W's passive, which is actually a pretty strong buff because you max this ability first, and it's going up to 80% now at level 9 when it's maxed out. Tank Jayce has been terrorizing high elo games for the last few weeks too, so Riot are shipping a bunch of tweaks to encourage his usual glass cannon setup and take away from his ability to build super durable while still dishing out some serious damage. Finally, Teemo also gets a nerf to his E's toxic shots based on hit damage too. Overall, we're not seeing as much change to the top lane as some other roles here, but we will likely see some picks rise up with the buffs to the Domination runes, or of course the attack speed cap increase. So make sure you watch out for Tryndamere. Let's get into the jungle next then, and in the S tier we have Amumu, Bel'Veth, Diana, Kindred, Master Yi, Nocturne, Viego, Warwick and Wukong. Here we have another round of buffs to Evelynn and Blue Kayn, as well as some nerfs to Skarner, Viego and Wukong. So Eve's buffs last patch didn't make as much of a difference as Riot had hoped, so she's back for round 2, and this time it's some pretty big buffs to her E's base damage. So this, with the Electrocute buffs as well, could be a bit of a game changer. Now she's still going to be relatively niche because her playstyle is very unique, but in games where an assassin slots in perfectly, she might just be a little bit on the strong side. Blue Kayn is also being buffed for a second patch in a row with his Q's base damage going up only in the Shadow Assassin form. Again, with the buffs to Dark Harvest 2, this could make a bit of a difference, but generally most players have been opting for Red Kayn for a large part of this season so far. The thing is though, there is a lot of burst in the game at the moment. You just have to have the right draft to play Blue Kayn, and when it is the right game, it's going to be a bit stronger this week. Speaking of strong, Skarner has been too strong for too long now, so this patch he's getting a nerf to his armor per level, but also the duration of his E's impact stun, down from 1.5 seconds to 1.1. Which could be enough of a window to not only hurt his early ganks, but also his combos alongside his ultimate too. Viego has been one of the most popular and one of the strongest junglers for a number of months now, and this is his first nerf in a while, but it's only 3 base AD. Now we've seen these minor nerfs sometimes make a surprising difference, especially to early game aggressive junglers like Lee Sin. However, we are of course going to keep Viego in the S tier, and let's be honest, he's still going to be one of the most played junglers in the game. Wukong has been one of the best champions so far this season, and this patch his W's cooldown is being nerfed by 2 seconds at each rank, and his E's bonus attack speed is coming down by 5% at each rank too. He's one of those champions that when he's too strong, he's simply too hard to punish, and he's just too reliable at what he does. These nerfs will help, but we still think he'll be a top pick to go for. Generally, we think the meta will likely stay mostly the same, with fast clearing junglers thriving. However, there will probably be some surprises this patch with the buffs to the Domination runes. And of course, the changes to the attack speed cap. So if everything goes down as expected, get ready to be banning Master Yi a hell of a lot. Into the mid lane next, and in the S tier we have Akshan, Anivia, Cassiopeia, Hui, Aurelia, Syndra and Victor. Swain is getting some buffs, Cassiopeia gets nerfed once again, and Galio also gets some nerfs this patch too. Yes, Cassiopeia has had a fantastic start to season 2025 and has been winning an insane amount of games at most ranks and also in various roles too. They've already nerfed her passive movement speed, but now they're nerfing her Q's and W's AP ratios by 5%. So these changes are obviously going to make her deal a little bit less damage, but it's more her E's Twin Fang spams that really chunks down enemies anyway, and it's not going to change her ability to pump out that serious damage, whilst also being super durable at the same time. Speaking of durable, Galio has been an S tier mid lane pick for quite some time now, and he's an amazing answer to so many bursty mid lane matchups, but also he's just super duper reliable with his engage, damage and crowd control. This patch, his base health is coming down from 632 to 600, which could honestly prove pivotal for him, as his early game and lane phase will definitely suffer. Swain is getting buffs this patch though, and his passive bonus HP per soul fragment is being increased, and his E's AP ratio is going up from 60 to 70%. The E buff is definitely more of a positive one, and the passive one is relatively minor. Swain's win rate has been pretty poor recently after he was too strong previously, and now he's sliding back into that category of champions that just don't get played that often. He has always kind of been that way, and Riot's rework was an attempt to change that. So let's see how this patch helps him out, and the AP buff on his E could be huge, so we have bumped him up to the A tier. Well, let's get into the bot lane next then, and in the S tier we have Caitlyn, Jinx, Kog'Maw, Misfortune, Twitch and Vayne. We've got some buffs to Samira and nerfs to Misfortune, but of course by far the biggest change here is the increase to the attack speed cap, which will likely see hyper carries like Jinx and Kog'Maw turn into absolute monsters. So yes, we have actually moved Vayne into the S tier this patch. Her win rate has been steadily increasing over recent weeks, and now we feel like it's her time to shine. Her stats are super impressive already, and now with the attack speed changes and the support meta suiting her, if you get her in the right game, she's going to feel amazing. You have still got to be careful about blind picking her, but in those games where she is suitable, she's going to be back to her best again. Misfortune has been popping off recently and has had some of the best stats in this role at almost every single rank in every single region. This patch, her base armor and armor per level have been reduced, which will obviously make her a bit squishier, but doesn't really change anything about her damage and what she actually brings to the table. MF is still going to be very strong, very popular, and definitely one you should not be forgetting about. So if you're already having good results with her, just keep calm and carry on. Samira is also in the patch notes with a buff to her E's bonus attack speed duration, and we're sorry to say that these aren't likely to make any difference whatsoever. She's just not in a great spot right now, and unless you are seriously stomping, you're just going to struggle to do the things that Samira does best. All of her lanes and matchups are difficult, with enchanters denying her burst and hyper carries that will just outscale and outrange her the majority of the time. Finally, for support then, and in the S tier we have Janna, Karma, Lulu, Melio and Nami. We've gone for the strongest enchanters in the game here, with mages mostly falling to the B tier with the nerfs to Zax and the majority of tanks sitting in the A tier. And don't forget that Bloodsong is also getting nerfed too, so RIP to melee users. We've got buffs to Rakan and Thresh, as well as some nerfs to Rell too. So Rakan just hasn't really been having a great time recently, and there's not too many lanes that he's been playable into. His main thing has always been playmaking and setting up huge fights and engages for his team, but right now he just can't compare to the impact and utility that those enchanters have over him. The buff to Rakan is the cooldown on his W, and to be honest, this is a pretty huge buff for him. This ability is his bread and butter, and his whole playstyle revolves around it. So it will definitely help, but we are going to keep him in the B tier for now and see how it plays out. Thresh has been super underwhelming recently at the majority of ranks, and only really having some success in high elo. I mean, it's not too hard to understand why, because those Enchanter Supports basically remove his ability to lane against them, and you're going to need to land an absolute ton of hooks to really have more impact than those other S tier picks and enchanters. This patch, his base armor is going up along with his Q's damage. Rell has been the best of the bunch when it comes to engaging supports recently, and she's really proving to be a seriously hard champion to balance. When she's viable, she's just OP in pro play. When she's overnerfed, she becomes invisible, and there's very little in between. This patch, her base HP and armor per level come down in an attempt to make her more punishable in the early game. Overall, as we've said already, we expect the enchanters to reign supreme this patch, as they have done already recently. But now, even more so with attack speed based hyper carries looking like they might just define the meta. Lulu is just one of the best picks in the game right now. She has been for a while and will likely get even better this patch, along with those other top similar enchanters that we have in the S tier. Well, that brings us to the end of our video covering all the changes in the new patch and our quick predictions for the tier list. We'll be back next week with an updated tier list video, so check back then to see who's up top and who's not doing so hot. Don't forget to keep an eye on our website as the tier list updates and changes, and check out all of our league content and features to help you out on the ranked solo queue climb. Thanks for watching guys, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.